everyone. Welcome to your show, The Untold, right here on KTV2. I am Ahmad Almazidi, joined by the ever-amazing Hussein. I gotta
Thank you
find
so
a
much.
different name for you.
You have to, I think.
Amazing,
There's
amazing,
way more
amazing,
in the
amazing.
terminology, I think.
Yeah,
There's
yeah. The great, that's the same.
Anyway, how are you
It's the
feeling?
same. I'm feeling great. Kind of medical again.
Yeah. We've been
But I
having a
love
lot of
those.
doctors. Yeah.
This time about hearing, though.
Yeah.
And this one is
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
because it's kind of special. It's a
Yes.
unique specialty.
She's doing something for
And she's doing something very noble, I think.
100%. I always call it selfless. And I think we
Selfless.
sat down with a lot of selfless
Yeah,
people on the
so
show.
many on the show.
Whether it's dentists or,
Yes,
or
yes.
someone like today's guest.
Yeah. So.
All right, let's introduce Ghanat Alkandari.
Yes.
Let's do it
Right,
after this break. It's time to welcome our guest for the day. Very, very special guest today. It's Ghanat Alkandari. You are a speech language pathologist.
Yes.
Personally, it's the first ever time that I actually encounter an expert like you. And I think, Ahmed, the same for you, I guess? Or am I
Yeah.
fair?
Fair.
Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for
Honestly,
asking
it's a
me
pleasure
be
to have you
your
on
show.
board. I'm sure it's going to be a very insightful episode.
Yeah, we'll come on the show.
Inshallah.
Yeah. Shall we start with the
we
questions?
want to start with what I usually say. What got you into your major? Out of high school, so many different majors. You chose a specific, unique
Very
major.
niche. Yeah.
Very niche.
Yes.
So please, your story.
It was actually a coincidence, a happy coincidence.
Nice.
At first, I was enrolled in the College for Science,
Mm-hmm.
and I was completely lost there. I was never good in math, and it's just I got accepted there, so I
Got
went
accepted that.
there. College for Science.
Okay.
And then one of those days, my friend from high school was there for one of her subjects. Like she had a class there, and she said, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "Oh, I got accepted here." And she said,
Nice.
"No, how about you come to my college, check out some of the new majors there,
Okay.
and I think there's something that just suits you, screams your personality. I think you should come and check it out." So I said, "All right." So one day I went there, looked at the major sheet, talked to the ladies at the guidance office.
Yeah.
Then I went home and researched it, saw a lot of videos
You liked
of
it.
speech pathologists and their clients, and it clicked. It felt like this is my calling, this is what I want to be doing.
Very interesting. They
Amazing.
found you calling from
Yeah.
literally, a few pages of research. That's very good. And here you are today.
I was
Yeah.
lucky.
Here you are
So perhaps
today.
tell us more about it, though. I mean, what is it called? What do you do? What did you study? What was the specialty? What happened? What's the journey?
So speech language pathology
Yeah.
is a science. It's a young science, let's say.
Okay.
It deals and it helps with all people from all ages, from birth and into geriatric years,
Okay.
who have any kind of problem with communication using language or communication when it comes to perceiving language
Okay. So,
So-
either speaking or hearing.
or receiving the
Okay,
language.
receiving, okay.
Yes. So you could be working with children with hearing impairments, autism. You could be working with children who have
Sensory issues, maybe?
I wouldn't say so. It could be included within the symptoms.
Okay.
It could be Down syndrome, could be anything, could be just a pure language impairment, or you could end up working with adults who have had strokes, who've had Alzheimer's,
Okay.
dementia,
Okay.
and so it's also there's the swallowing aspect of it. We can work with people who have difficulties swallowing.
Why do they have those? Why would one develop that?
The swallowing problem. Usually, it's after maybe a traumatic brain injury or a stroke.
I
So
see.
they kind of lose the ability to
Swallow.
do these processes like chewing and
The simple kind of like.
Yeah. Things you don't
swallowing.
even think about doing.
Yeah,
Exactly. Wow. And you think because you definitely made a conscious choice to kind of go into this field, but it's not the easiest of fields. Because
Yeah.
whether you're working with children with hearing impairments, that's what they say, and then you have adults that have AD, Alzheimer's disease, for example, it's not the easiest of choices. And,
Yes.
but you
I
signed
feel
up
like
for
it's a
this.
noble choice to.
Yeah, you really did. It's a big step. Is there a
It
reason
is.
why you actually took that step forward besides the coincidence? Some.
It just sits right with my I feel like my morals, my values. This is
Wow.
what I want to
Wow.
be doing.
What was?
I need my whatever I do, I need it to have meaning.
Okay,
like that.
I love that. I
Nah,
love that.
that's very nice.
Do whatever you want, but as long as it has
Has actual
meaning
meaning
and
to you.
serves purpose,
Yeah.
and it fulfills
Yeah,
you,
yeah, yeah, 100%.
you should do that.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about hearing impairments. Is basically a cure for being mute by having an implant?
I wouldn't say cure. It
Okay.
helps it
It helps it.
because a cochlear implant is a medical prosthetic device.
Right.
So
And it's basically
yes, so it's surgically
implanted, and it's safe.
It is safe.
It is
yes.
safe.
Okay, fair.
And I heard it's
But at this point, it's practically routine procedure.
Routine procedure.
That's what I hear from the parents.
and it's
that-
very
what the surgeons
expensive
say.
procedure,
Yes,
right?
it is expensive.
It is expensive.
And is that because, as you said, it's a young science? That's what you said.
well,
Speech pathology is, but
Okay, okay.
the development of this prosthetic device did not come from speech
Right.
pathologists.
how long have we had this device? And
Well, it's very old. It's
very old.
yeah.
So it's very
been
safe,
over
bit
60
expensive. When we say expensive, could we put a number out there? Roughly?
years. Over 20,000
KD.
KD for just maybe the surgery.
For one surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what was the reason for
Over
the
more.
what
The
is
cost,
reason?
it is a very
Well, you see, I don't want to say something controversial, but
No, fair,
I-
fair. But
Yeah.
it's just
but I was reading a book written by an audiologist. So he was talking about, and he had developed tinnitus, is where you hear this sound, constant noise and sound in your ear.
okay.
that doesn't exist. Exists
It
for you.
exists for him
For
in
him,
his
yeah.
brain. It's,
Right.
it's a
Yeah.
pathology.
Mm.
So he has written this amazing book, and he's been talking about the field of audiology in general and hearing and whatnot. So he says it is intentional that these things are very costly. It's been attempted by other initiatives to make it more cost effective.
Cost
Yeah.
effective.
But there are very powerful lobbies where they block it every time in the United States.
Now it is expensive, but however, in Kuwait,
Yes.
for us at least, it is
It
provided,
is.
right?
It
It's
is
free
provided for free
for those who need it.
for those who need it.
That
And
is
if
what's
you-
great about our
If you
country.
cannot get the implant
Yeah.
in Kuwait, they will send those kids abroad.
Mm.
And there are other places where, like, there's also the Awqaf Public Foundation, Al-Aman Al-Amma Al-Awqaf in Kuwait, that will help non-Kuwaitis get the procedure.
Amazing.
That's
for
actually
free.
very, very
That's
nice.
amazing. That is
Yeah.
nice.
That's a beautiful social responsibility. Let's just call it.
Yes.
Yes, actually, what instigated the existence of SADA, where I work right now, is, as I was told the story, is like an Egyptian little boy who needed the procedure. And his father went to the Awqaf Public Foundation and requested the funding for that.
Yeah.
And after he had the procedure, he needed the rehabilitation. And then he went back, and it seems like more people asked for it.
Yeah.
And then that's how the idea of SADA came about.
So is it something? Is it? Do we see a lot of kids with hearing impairments in Kuwait?
Yes, there are a lot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's on the increase, like, globally.
Really?
It's not just, yeah.
Because
What
of-
would you attribute that to?
Yeah.
Well, there is the genetic factor. There is
Okay.
the toxic load that, now scientists and doctors are talking about all these toxins which are affecting our biology and
Yeah.
body. So this could be a factor.
Okay.
It's a lot of external factors that we
And-
don't. Okay, fair.
Yeah,
fair.
and when I asked you that this is basically a cure to being mute, you said almost.
Almost.
Because
yeah.
it doesn't restore hearing to 100%.
Yes, it's artificial. So
Artificial.
a cure would be, in my mind at least, is I take the pill and I'm
Yeah.
restored to what my original
Without the
health.
need of an
Right.
external technology
Yes.
and so on. Can we dig deeper into the daily life of your life? Essentially, working in this field every day. Do you see a lot of kids? Do you see a lot of parents?
Yes.
And how do you deal with that?
Well, you do see a lot of kids, and I guess the main struggle is to be able to find services for all of them,
Yeah.
because the resources unfortunately are limited,
Yeah.
because we're still a small center. We'd like to grow bigger.
Mm.
There's only about maybe 10 of us in the center working.
Fair. Very specialized. Okay.
So we do need to expand so that we can see more people and accommodate more kids.
Must be
hopefully.
very heartbreaking, kind of like to see someone come to you and approach you and for a problem, and you cannot give them a solution. You have to kind of like send them elsewhere.
We either refer or
Yeah.
we find some other way to help. We never send anybody away without any help.
Okay.
So we either do the counseling, the parent training, because parent training is key in this
Yeah.
case, or we can do some individual sessions. But my wish is for every kid to have access to the full
Absolutely.
program.
Of course, everyone would
That's a
love-
very
would
strong
love that,
mission.
Yeah. I want to maybe touch on your studies. Where did you do your bachelor's? Did you do something after that? Where did you do your studies?
So I did my bachelor's in Kuwait University,
Nice.
communication sciences and language disorders.
Okay.
Oh,
I was very fortunate with the professors that taught me back then.
amazing.
And then I went on, after working for 2 years, 2-3 years, I went on to do my master's degree in the University of Reading in the UK.
Oh,
Nice.
I
you
studied.
got a degree of?
I got a degree in clinical language sciences, and I specialized in bilingualism and multilingualism.
Amazing.
Okay, and the reason, if we are to ask you, why, again, we're gonna go back to the same answer. If we to ask you why you chose it, is because of the coincidence with your friend. Is that the story of why?
For bachelor's degree, yes.
The
Yeah.
master's, what was the
master's
driving
degree,
force to?
I just wanted to be better at what I'm doing. I wanted to learn more.
Does that mean you're gonna go for the next level too?
Oh, I hope.
A PhD
Inshallah,
doctorate?
if the opportunity presents itself,
right?
and the right time is.
Okay.
I feel like you're an ambitious person, and you would seek higher education, and you will keep trying to
hope
improve
so.
yourself. And
Is it what you
Because
expected?
you want to
though?
help people.
Is it what you expected, kind of like from studying the field, working in the field?
What do you mean?
So
Can you rephrase?
working with children rather than studying in the field, because obviously studying something from the
Yes.
books is different from actually experiencing it in front of you.
Okay. Yes, that's a very good question. Actually, after the bachelor's degree, every speech pathology student is in complete shock because
Why?
what you study in the books is very clear and it's nicely laid out
Yeah.
for you. You do this 1, 2, 3, and then you meet the real kid, and it's
And
oh
it's-
my God, it's a kid, it's a mess. It doesn't work this way, and there's a lot of factors interacting, and you have to be very delicate when you do the assessment,
sure.
and you have to be very
sure.
specific so that you can make a differential diagnosis. It's not like what you study, but studying gives you every tool you need.
Right.
You just need to know
Gives you
how to
something to
put
go
these
back
tools
to.
together.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, we're gonna take a quick break,
let's do it.
and we'll carry on the conversation right after this.
We're back from the break, and we have, so there's this big question I want to ask you. Tell us the journey of a child that actually has hearing impairments. What should we know?
You should know that at birth, every hospital in Kuwait is supposed to do a hearing screening
True.
Okay.
at birth.
Yeah.
And then the protocol is supposed to be that after 2 months, they'll do the screening again.
Okay.
Because they might have false negatives or false positives.
Fair.
If a problem is identified at any stage of the screening, they will do the full assessment battery.
Okay.
And the assessments, the audiologists work on that. It's not where the speech pathologist is involved. Once the impairment is identified, then they need to know what kind of impairment and the severity of it. Depending on that, they decide, is he going to wear just a hearing aid, an amplifier, so it doesn't require surgery, right?
Right.
Or is it a sensory neural hearing loss where the child will need a surgery and a cochlear device?
Okay.
So after that, once they've had this medical journey, let's call it, they go and they map and program the device with the audiologist.
Okay.
And I guess in collaboration with the speech pathologist and the parents. Once the device is fully functional and they can receive the acoustic signal optimally, We come in as speech pathologists, as the leaders on that case.
Okay.
And we will fully assess and see if this child, does he need any other kind of support? Because a lot of children will come with other impairments. So the hearing impairment is, a lot of the times, is the accessory. So you'll see sensory impairments, you might see other things happening with the child, maybe balance issues. So they might work with a physio, an occupational therapist,
Okay.
and a speech pathologist.
All right.
We work through the stages of training the brain to listen, because hearing and listening does not happen in the ear. Your ear is just the door that lets the acoustic signal in to the brain,
All right.
and then hearing happens in the brain. So what we do is a neural process, and we
Right.
need to train the brain to be aware of the sound. So if there is a sound, the brain should be aware of it,
Yeah.
and then would be able to localize it. Where's the sound coming from?
How does the training happen then? So that sounds like a very big training then.
It's a lot
It's-
of repetitions.
Yeah, definitely. I'm
Yes.
sure. I'm sure it is.
We kind of train the child to give us feedback after we've made a sound, for example.
So it's literally it's like very, very granular. It's like step by step. So like
Yes, it's
very tiny movements.
yes,
Okay.
it's very diligent.
The implant we mentioned, we talked about extensively, the one with the surgery. Is it suitable for any ages,
Yes,
even adults?
I've seen it done for adults outside of Kuwait. I've not seen it here in Kuwait, to be
Okay.
honest. But yes, for adults outside of Kuwait, I've seen it done.
Okay. And is the same process for adults and kids? For example, if an
I
adult
don't-
gets
I've not
Alzheimer's, for
personally
example.
worked with an adult,
Yeah.
but it depends. Has he had experience with hearing and speech prior to the implant?
Right.
Okay.
Or
Or
did he
it's
not?
like a first time.
Assuming
Yes.
he's not, assuming he's someone new, like he just is facing Alzheimer's, for example, he's going through his own journey.
I don't think they would do that for an Alzheimer's patient. Put them under, I'm not a surgeon,
Fair.
but so
yeah.
I cannot speak on that with authority.
I'm being confused. What's the relation between having Alzheimer and losing your hearing? Or
Is
it
there any
just-
relation?
Actually,
There's no relation,
people
right?
don't know that, but there
What?
is a very strong correlation between losing your hearing.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And
And
developing
lose-
Alzheimer?
Perhaps let's just call it degenerative
Memory-
diseases
Okay.
like dementia and
I see.
persisters.
That's very. So, so you're saying hearing impairments and dementia, for example.
Yes.
And is it because?
Have you not? I've seen it a lot with even relatives.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where you see a person who gets a stroke,
Yeah.
for example, and then he does not have access to hearing for whatever reason. He stops or she stops wearing their hearing aid.
Yeah.
Right.
They're old, right? They have hearing aids. They get the stroke. Khalas, they don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
We don't want to wear. Gradually,
Yeah.
as you see their case progresses, they start forgetting. They start being unaware of time.
Interesting.
Who's here? Who's not here? They start forgetting names, and then they get a lot of these on the tip of my tongue experiences
I see,
Yeah,
I
it's like
see.
until you kind of just lose them.
Wow. Does your field touch on sign language for the
Right
impair-
now,
Yeah.
actually, this is very new in Kuwait. We have 2 new cases of what we call ABIs.
ABIs,
What does that mean?
Yes, so
standing
it's
for
auditory brainstem implants, where the implant is not inside the cochlea part
Okay.
or the inner ear.
uh-huh.
Okay.
It's in the brainstem.
And the
So
difference,
directly in the
what does that
brainstem.
do? What does
So
implant do?
for clients or for children
Yeah.
who have who have a damaged nerve,
Yeah.
auditory nerve. Even if you stimulate the cochlea, the nerve is
It
not
wouldn't
gonna.
work.
It just doesn't
So
work.
the next option is
The next option is
in the brain.
In the brainstem.
That's a big one.
Is there risks involved to that one? Because you're involving brain surgery.
I don't want to say there are no risks, but
Right,
these are things that they discuss with their
Specialists.
neurosurgeons.
Yeah.
So we don't discuss
I
that
see.
with. So
Yeah,
if the
I'm trying to
parents-
get back to
the risk is
yeah.
actually is you are taking a risk anyway.
Yeah.
With your child, anything in my mind that happening in this region is a major surgery.
True.
But the thing with ABIs is that there is no guarantee that they will have access to
I see.
auditory
Okay.
signals.
So you got to try it to see.
Yeah.
Of course.
So what happens is when the kid comes with this implant, we have to be ready to integrate sign language into their oral habilitation.
Yeah.
Because they might never reach their the optimal language output, right? So
Right.
we need to supplement it with something so that
Okay.
they're efficient communicators.
Right. I have a question here. I took American Sign Language back in university, and something confused me. Why couldn't we have had a universal sign language rather than one for an Arabic, one in Indian, or how many sign languages there are?
Okay.
Couldn't we have developed a universal
That's a
method?
good question.
There is an international sign language.
There is an international sign
Yeah,
language.
but to my knowledge
Yeah.
is that the community of people with the hearing
Yeah.
impairments, they're very specific about what they like,
I see.
and it's they really like their sense of community. So they
Right.
do have their preference. Like I know in Kuwait, they prefer Kuwaiti sign language.
Kuwaiti Sign Language.
They don't, although there is an Arabic one, but they do
Okay.
not prefer.
So
what do
then
you
this
mean?
one has the slangs of Kuwait and has
Yes,
the
language, neurologically speaking,
Yeah.
this is science, right? So sign language functions on the same regions spoken language does. So it does have intonation. It does have slang. It does have every feature of language. So when you learn sign language, you're actually bilingual.
true.
Or
Wait, that's actually
trilingual.
interesting. So
Trilingual
what
at
you're
this
saying
point.
is that so the same parts, so the auditory parts of the brain lights up when people see sign language or people when they hear it.
Not the auditory part. There's the Broca and Wernicke's areas.
Oh, yeah,
These
yeah,
are
yeah,
the
yeah.
language
Yeah.
areas. So these are for comprehension and production. When you
Yeah.
use sign language, these are what lights up under a functional MRI.
Very
So
interesting.
it's the same thing. It kind of
Thank you, Magdalene.
they
you-
recognize it as a language,
you-
standalone language.
Would you say most sign languages have similarities in them? Or if I spoke ASL to Kuwaitis, they wouldn't get me?
They probably wouldn't
would-
get you, but I feel like from my exposure to some American Sign Language and Kuwaiti Sign Language lately, they're just like, for example,
Yeah.
drinking and
Yeah.
eating. And
They're similar. Some
they're very-
basic things are similar.
It's like intrinsic to our human
Yeah.
experience. So,
So it
I feel
translates
like
the same.
these kind of it goes.
Question
Another
about
language.
your treatments to kids. Obviously, before, when you're dealing with kids, you're dealing with the parents.
Right.
How do you deal with the parents?
Well, first of all, you have to acknowledge their trauma.
Yeah,
They've
surely.
been through so much.
Of course.
And you have to be sensitive, you have to be compassionate.
Of course.
Yeah.
You have to put it in the simplest language you can find.
Right.
Wow.
It's very hard to change scientific language into everyday language because you don't want to miss anything in that translation.
Of course.
So you need to take your time and you need to repeat and you have to ask open-ended questions. You need to be able to listen really carefully to what they're saying and don't be judgmental. If I give them an advice and they cannot take it, that doesn't mean they're bad parents.
Right.
They just have different experience, a different
Of course.
environment.
Well, honestly,
that's
you going
working
through all
with-
of that shows your commitment, your passion for it.
100%, yeah.
I'm so proud that we have someone like you wanting to help people, and it's
So
great work that
selflessly,
you're
so
doing.
selflessly, yeah.
Yeah,
You're
it's
so
credible
kind.
work.
Thank you.
Thank you
You're
for
so
that.
kind.
I guess our last question before we send our people off home. Any tips you have or recommendations or for people who are suffering from this or just having this issue just now, what to
Yeah.
do?
Well, first of all, don't panic. You're not alone. There's always someone somewhere who can help and want
Yeah.
to help. The resources are there. You just need to calm down and find them
Yeah.
and talk to people. Be open to suggestions and talk to your doctors. Have the difficult conversations.
Yeah.
You have every right
Yeah.
Yeah.
to ask the difficult questions and go back and forth. And you're entitled to a second, a third, a fifth, a thousandth opinion.
So you
course,
advocate
of
for
course.
getting different opinions, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Nice.
Do what you're comfortable with because whatever decision you make today,
Yeah.
you're the one
You're
who's
the
going to
one
have
who's
to live
gonna-
with it.
Right.
One final question before we wrap up. You're someone with tremendous experience, and you've been in this field for years and years and years. I'm sure you've encountered a case. You have a memory. You have something you can remember of someone that developed in extraordinary ways. To perhaps give the viewers some hope that this actually happened, something that happened with you that you can talk about.
But to be honest, every moment is inspiring with these kids. They're amazing. They surprise you.
I can only imagine, yeah.
They're surprising. They do things you don't expect. Just tomorrow, I'm just off the top of my head. Tomorrow we're celebrating one of our boys who graduated Sada, and he is one of the top winners in the reading challenge.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So I think he ended across Kuwait. He ended up in the 5th spot.
Nice.
Top 5. So
and he was competing against
typical developing kids.
Wow. And he got
honestly,
that's amazing.
Thank you for sharing. I
That's
can see it. We can literally see it in your eyes how emotional you're getting about this. It definitely shows how caring you are towards this topic. So as Ahmed said
congratulations to that student as well.
Honestly.
Yeah.
So and thank you for sharing. Honestly, beautiful story.
Well, thank you for your time. We'll be back for the wrap up right after this.
We're back with a wrap up. What a beautiful episode today. As we said before, very selfless, for a good cause. Yeah. She's very knowledgeable.
I learned so many new things.
100%. Yeah.
And maybe I want to convince my grandpa to get this surgery. Maybe.
Are you actually facing issues?
Not me. I said my grandpa.
I mean,
you're the one who's facing the issue because you didn't hear me.
I think something that I found particularly, I'm very proud of actually.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you have to pay this much money
for
the operation. It's for free in Kuwait.
This is the great thing about our country.
That's actually really, really
when you have public
nice.
health care.
That's very, very nice because it's great support for the people, especially if you cannot afford it. And I'm sure as a parent looking down on your child and you have this issue and you want to pay for it, but you can't afford it. But there you go. The government is supporting you.
It is. And what an amazing character we had with us today.
She is.
Yeah. And join us next time for more amazing characters right here on The Untold. We'll see you next time.